Welcome back to our series on the watchman. And we have, in the previous episode, we talked about the three friends of Daniel. Today, we're going to discuss and talk about Daniel himself, an amazing man of God. And Daniel actually was initially in the kingdom of the Babylonian, and then also he stayed in power when King Darius from the Persian king came into power. And it says in chapter 6 of the book of Daniel, in verse 1, it pleased the king Darius to set over the kingdom of 120 satraps, which is an old word, but it means like governors, leaders, to be over the whole kingdom, and over these three governors, of whom Daniel was one. So over these 120, there were three top governors, and Daniel was one of them, that the satraps might give account to them, so that the king would suffer no loss. So it was like a hierarchy, the king, the three leaders under the 120. So there was a jealousy, of course, as we can find out. Then this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and satraps, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king gave thought to set him over the whole realm. So even the king observed that this man was so excellent that he wanted to make him a top leader over everything. And so you can imagine jealousy is there. And so the governors and the satraps sought to find some charge against Daniel. It always happens like that. If today you look into the world, and all over the world, it's like they accuse Donald Trump. It seems the whole world hates him. The media is trying to paint him black. I don't know in your country, but I live in Europe. There is no good news. It's all accusations. Why? He is an instrument in the hand of God at this present moment for the sake of Israel, like King Darius used to be. And so in the days of Daniel, these guys, they were looking for a reason to put him out of place. But the Bible says, so the governors sought to charge against him, but they could find no charge or fault, because he was faithful. They couldn't find anything to accuse him. He was a righteous man. Nor was there any error or fault found in him. Now, that's an amazing guy, you see. Then look what happened. Then these men said, we shall not find any charge against this Daniel unless we find it against him concerning the law of his God. So the attack came against his religion. If we see today with the lockdown for the churches, while the Black Lives Matter groups, they assemble without masks in the streets, and there is no repercussions, they allow these things to happen. You see, the pandemic is a plandemic. It's a plan to cause more confusions and to shut down the churches. They even put the mask to stop the message. This was turned against Daniel in the relationship with his God. So these plans, these governors, these world leaders, they cooked up a plan. And it says, these governors and satraps thronged before the king and said thus to him, King Darius, live forever. You see, they flatter this king, but actually they want to intimidate him and manipulate him to make a law against Daniel and the things of the living God. It says, all the governors of the kingdom, the administrators and satraps, the counselors and advisors have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whoever petitions any god or man for 30 days, except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. So now they were flattering the king. We make an image of you. Everyone have to worship you. If they disobey, we throw them before the lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing so that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians. an unchangeable, fixed law. But it was a setup. It wasn't to flatter the king. It was to kill Daniel. Many decisions made in the world today is just to stop the message of truth. But I want you to understand, friends, as you look at this message, you can kill the messenger, but you can never stop the message of God. The message of God is God's message. The messenger is only the instrument delivering the message. If you kill one messenger, God will raise up 10 others to take his place. He is undefeatable. His message will come true. And his message is good news. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writings that it cannot be changed, because the law of Medes and Persians will never be altered. And then he signed, not knowing that he was actually signing a plot against his own best men. Now, when Daniel knew that the decree was signed, that the law was signed, he went home, and this is so powerful, this is also important. And in his upper room, with his windows open towards Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since early days. You see, there may be pressure coming from secular governments, but we should not allow the churches to be shut down. If they don't allow us to meet in the open air, if they don't allow us to have free meetings, we will meet in secret. We don't allow the devil to stop, because the church is not under the government of the secular powers. We are obedience. We must be obedient to the government, but not in the things of the kingdom. That is another kingdom we don't have to obey. So then this man assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplications before his God. And they went before the king and spoke concerning the king's decree. Have you not signed a decree that every man who petitions any god or man within 30 days except you, O God, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, that is true, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter. So they answered and said before the king, that Daniel, you see the way that guy, that Daniel who is one of the captives from Judah. So they want to emphasize he was actually a captive. You're making the top governor, but he is our enemy. Why? He does not show any regard for you, O king, or for the decree that you have signed, but makes his petitions 3 times a day to his God. He is a bad guy. Now, when the king heard these words, he was greatly displeased, distressed with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. You see, there are men in power who do not agree with the decisions that were pushed through the throat by government leaders. And he tried to deliver Daniel, and he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. So he tried his level best to keep Daniel out of the lion's den. But these men were pushing the king and said to the king, know, O king, that it is the law of Medes and Persians that no decree or statute which the king established may be changed. So the king gave the command, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. But the king spoke to Daniel and said, your God. Listen, this was not like Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar said, and which God can deliver you? Of course, he changed afterward. This king had a different heart. He had actually a good heart. He was lulled into a deception to kill this great man. But he said, Daniel, your God, whom you serve continually, he will deliver you. That was very prophetic. And I tell you, my friends, you may be thrown into a lion's den. It may be a physical prison. It may be a false accusation. It may be they take you to court. If you live in a country that is hostile against the Christian faith, you may suffer many things. but your God, whom you serve continually, he will deliver you. Then a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the signet of his lords, that the purpose concerning Daniel might not be changed. This looked like a dead end. But listen, my friends, that is not the end of the story. It will be continued. Stay with us in the next episode. We will reveal the miraculous way how God delivered Daniel from the lion's den.